And
Elliot,
here we
the
are.
ad is back. The ad is back.
It's back. Foundation Physio. They needed to see it again before they sent it off to the Cannes Film Festival. It gets another run. Shout out to our friends there at Foundation Physio. They're now doing virtual appointments. So if you've got something wrong with you, maybe you've been lying on the couch a little bit too long and you've done your neck, these are the guys to talk to.
Well, El, I had actually an injury this week. Maybe Raj and the guys at Foundation Physio can help me out. I actually injured my leg doing some yoga.
I love it. We got a groan there from Mike Sheppard, who's waiting patiently to join us today. Scotty, you definitely give the boys from Foundation Physio a call. We'd like to welcome everybody here today for the big match. This is Toronto Arrows versus the Glendale Raptors. It's a really big name. Glendale Raptors not around anymore, Scotty.
Yes, it's a bit sad. Unfortunately, the team actually rebranded to become the Colorado Raptors for the 2020 season. And then they sadly withdrew from Major League Rugby starting from next year. So we have a nice tribute at the end just to remember some of the memorable matches the Arrows played against the Glendale Raptors. And today's match that we want to relive with the fans is actually the second last regular season game from 2019, with both teams having a lot on the line as they go into this big match. So it's a Lamport Stadium game. We're looking forward to getting back there. We miss it. It was a lovely spring day, and we can't wait to get into it. But before we do, we're just reliving a few highlights here from last week. El, what a game that was that we watched between the Arrows and the Utah Warriors.
It was a colourful game, but to impact it was last week. I've gone full black and white. As you can tell, every week the production is getting 2% better. This is just, you can even see who's today's guests are. We are joined very shortly by Mike Sheppard, our lock for our team. It's Mark Winokur, the GM at halftime. And then we've got Leandro Leivas, our outside back, coming in for the second half. So, Scott, I want to get into the game, but this week we're doing what we did last week. We're supporting grassroots rugby. We're supporting Rugby Ontario. We are glad to be affiliated with them, and we want to see them do well during this tricky time. And we have a message right now from the president of the Toronto Arrows, Bill Webb. Check it out, and we'll get straight into the match.
Hi, I'm Bill Webb, Ontario Rugby dad and president of the Toronto Arrows, Ontario and Canada's professional rugby team, competing very successfully in Major League Rugby. I'm proud to serve as the director of Rugby Canada and the Canadian Rugby Foundation, and on the Captain's Council of TURF, the Toronto Inner City Rugby Foundation. My involvement in rugby began as a 14-year-old high school player in my hometown of Brantford, Ontario, and included playing for my hometown club, the Brantford Harlequins, and then for my university team, the Wilfrid Laurier University Golden Hawks. The work hard, play hard ethos of playing rugby as a young man affected my life and the lives of my friends in so many positive ways. Rugby Ontario has been a driving force for growing the game of rugby in this province. The culture and on-field success of the Ontario Blues Senior Men's Program provided a solid foundation from which to build the Toronto Arrows. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about unprecedented financial and administrative constraints to rugby. Our sport needs our help. That's why I'm excited to introduce and support the Rugby Ontario Supporter Club, a new membership and crowdfunding initiative for the community and rugby fans to keep rugby alive. The Supporter Club is an opportunity for active and past rugby community members to come together and make a contribution during this challenging time. Please join our family and the Arrows in supporting this important initiative. Visit rugbyontario.com/supporterclub and follow Rugby Ontario on social media for more details. Let's keep rugby alive and thriving in Ontario during these challenging times.
So some lovely supportive words there for Rugby Ontario from President of the Toronto Arrows, Bill Webb, and support Rugby Ontario by going to www.rugbyontario.com/ or /. Nobody can really figure it out at the moment, Supporters Club. But if you've used the internet in the last few days, years, or months, you should be fine with that. It is my pleasure to introduce the man who I will now bring to the fray. Thanks very much for joining us, Mike Sheppard.
Hey, Elliot.
Hey, how you doing?
Good to be here. I'm all right. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good, mate. It's Saturday afternoon. It's a beautiful day. It's a very similar day, actually, today to this time last year. Sun's out.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful day for some rugby. We'll have to live in the past a little bit. Scott, you're pretty excited about this match. I know you are.
Well, I think I'll just throw it to Mike at this point. Mike, thanks for joining us. This match was, I think, May 26, if I can read the screen in front of me, from last year. Mike, what were your memories from this day and this game against the Glendale Raptors?
My memory even this day was being excited as hell to play this game, because the last time we played them, we had to play in Glendale in a blizzard, essentially, and they blanked us because we just weren't ready for a snowstorm. So we knew we had them on a hot, dry day that we were going to kick their ass.
I love it. Them fighting words. Now, Shep, you've been with the team for quite a few years. Tell us about how you ended up with the Arrows, your road to the Arrows. We always love to find out.
And welcome to the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we have a special rugby version.
Pretty standard, same as a lot of the guys in the team. Grew up playing the provincial junior program, you know, under 16, 17, 18. Played with the Ontario Blues men's team for several years. Went to McMaster University, which a lot of the guys on the Arrows did as well. And then from there, the Ontario Arrows grew to the Ontario Blues when Bill Webb decided he wanted to, you know, give a trial season. And the rest is history. Stuck with it, kept playing well, stayed healthy, thankfully, and now we're here.
Mike, you must have been pretty confident going into this game. The team was coming off a 5-game winning streak. And as I mentioned earlier, there was a lot on the line in this game. Both teams 5th and 6th coming into this game. Both had a chance to make the top 4. What were some of the things your team was really focusing on going into this game?
Staying hot. You know, we start hot, and that's how we were doing it this whole time. Like, even like you saw last week against Utah, we started off firing. And even though the Warriors came back for quite a few times, we ended up putting them away. So our message today, stay hot, start hot.
And this must have been quite a bit different from the games you played in Colorado, Mike, because we saw both in 2020 and 2019, it looked a little bit cold when you played them at home, perhaps a bit of snow around.
It's funny you say that, because it was a little bit cold.
It was an absolute snowstorm, wasn't it? We got a few highlights at the end of the match here. What is this like to go into that? What is it like to play in a couple of feet of snow?
Awful. Completely awful. This is the worst thing I've ever experienced. Not just rugby, but like one of the worst experiences I've had. It was awful.
So you'd much prefer to be on the turf at Lamport this time of year.
Talk us through this scrummaging, Mike, if you can, for the fans, because we know that the Arrows clearly take a lot of pride in their scrums. We see that you often pack down in attacking positions when you could perhaps take a shot at goal instead. How much time does the team put into practicing scrummaging?
We put in quite a bit of time into practicing. You'll see right there, we just got the free kick, and we took the scrum again because we want the full arm. That's what we're going for. Like, especially last year, like we had Rob Brower, Andrew Quattrin, Morgan Mitchell. Like, we knew we were going to destroy Glendale scrum today. We were going to tear them to pieces, and we want them to know we're not going to get away from a free kick. We're going to make them feel us, and you'll see.
Either
something else, Mike.
Some of our previous guests have either been playing it pretty easy, but Shep, you've just come out here straight away, mentioned kicking ass, taking names. That's your attitude to a game. I can see it now. You're fired up. Yeah.
Mike, talk us through what happens right here, because you're actually running the wrong way when the ball comes out of that ruck.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough read sometimes. You know, it's a quick game. Can't get it right all the time. But
there you go.
Look at that. You know, who knows, right? Like, practice, you can only do so much. It's
little tap on the bum there from the ball.
We should also note that the acrobatic keep-in that we just saw there from the Glendale winger, Harley Davidson. And we're getting some recurring themes in our matches here, because we actually saw Harley Davidson playing for Atlanta last week. So clearly he played for Glendale in 2019. Mike, any interactions with the aptly named Harley Davidson during your time in MLR and in rugby?
I don't talk to wingers.
You hear that, Dan? we got our first question for you from Karen. Hi, Karen. Thanks very much for joining us today. Hey, Sheppy. Sheppy. Can I call you Sheppy? Is that all right? We call it that?
Absolutely.
All right, Sheppy. What is your favorite moment thus far with the Arrows, obviously besides right now?
It's a tough question. It's really hard to pinpoint down, but actually, one of my favorite memories from recent is actually I wasn't even playing in the game against Seattle this year, but when I got to watch the boys go into Seattle and put the show on that they did, oh, that felt so good. I obviously upset I couldn't be a part of it, but watching that game, I was like, oh, that feels so good.
Yeah, quite the rivalry between the two teams right now, which is fantastic, East and West. But that has really blossomed, that one. And Glendale. So yeah, the feelings against Glendale as well would be, yeah, as you mentioned, pretty tough right here. You want to show them what you can do on home turf. How much do you enjoy the atmosphere of playing at home?
Oh, it was the best thing ever. Like playing in front of the good Toronto crowd, like the way we interact with the fans after and the support they give us on the field as well. It's just, there's no better feeling than playing at home. There really is.
Well,
Mike, I want you to talk a bit about us to your position, lock or second row. It strikes me that your position is very much the unsung heroes of the 15 on the rugby field. You sort of, as we see a great try there. Who was that from, Mike?
That was big Morgie Mitchell just rumbling through like he always did. You know, he doesn't listen too good, so he just does whatever he wants, so.
He looks like quite the big bloke. Do you know how heavy he is?
Oh, I could not tell you. If I were to venture a guess, I'd probably hurt his feelings.
No, I was just saying before, Mike, if you take another look at that try. That was a great try.
See, I was there the whole way with him. Like, he really should have offloaded. I was ready to go in for the score, but when props score, props get the score. Everyone loves to see a big man score, so I got over it pretty quickly.
Well, that was sort of what I was going to allude to, Mike, is your position is clearly a vital position on the field, but it strikes me that you guys are kind of the unsung heroes of the 15. Talk to us about what your role is, your primary role as a lock.
Just do the dirty work. You know, we get like locks and props especially, like we make our tackles, we hit the rucks, we're the ruck donkeys. Every now and then we carry the ball, but just be the tough guys out there. Don't miss your get to every ruck and just keep your feet moving. And every now and then you score and look, there. Because you don't ever see it.
Does Sam Mitchell ever ask you to try and position it under the posts, or he wouldn't dare?
Oh, Sammy would never say that. Sammy loves a challenge. We'll put on the sideline if he'll ask us to, and he'll still slot it.
Now, one of the stats, Mike, I heard from the commentators mentioned.
He gets the ball wherever he kicks it. Oh.
That's quite the kick there. We have one of our fans here, Nash Ramsey, who says, "Hey, Dad."
On him as well.
I was just going to say, Mike, is defense something that you really pride yourself on? Because we heard going into this game that you were the leading tackler for the Arrows heading into this game in 2019.
I do try to be the best I can on defense. Like, realistically, I'm probably not the best I could be because I do have a lot of missed tackles. But again, I did have the most completions because I just look for the work. So I go for the bigger tackles. So I don't really go safe all the time, which I probably should. But I prefer to get a good shot on than a safe shot. But again, I keep looking for work, so I get a lot of tackles. That's it. See you, Gaston.
Yeah, quite the game Gaston had in this match, where there's some exciting moments for him coming up.
All 90 pounds of him, he can cut through the line, I'll tell you.
And there's Leandro with the ball as well, who's coming up as our guest in the second half. Anything you can tell us about Leandro, Mike, from your time spent playing with him?
No one wants the ball in their hand more than Leo. He is the strongest runner, and he wants to make an impact every second he can. Just give that guy the ball, and he will go for meters.
Now,
also, really gotta like watch because it's a bit understand, but just listen to him, and you'll get it right.
he's got a lovely accent. Chatted to him earlier today.
Oh.
I can't wait to bring him on. It's got a very interesting story, that man. Now, Shep, you got an interesting story as well. One of these stories is could be that you don't know you have a kid called Nash Ramsey, who's saying, "Hey, Dad," right now on the screen. Is that your son by any chance?
No, I have no kids.
Okay, there you go.
That I'm aware of.
Nash, thanks for trying, mate. It was worth a go. Now, tell us about your hometown lad. Hometown is Brampton, and tell me the name of the Brampton team because it cracks me up every time.
Oh, the Brampton Beavers. Just
That's awesome.
good classic Ontario team. We've been around for years and years. A lot of pride and a lot of good guys. I grew up and have a ton of great memories coming from Brampton.
Shout out to all our friends watching in Brampton. We're really glad you've joined us today, I was talking before to Brock, who told me, you got a pretty late start in the game. Is that right? Like particularly with the Canadian team, where you made your debut when you were 29, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. I started like my professional debut with the national team at 29. I've been playing since I was 13 years old, so I know the game quite well. Just took me a while to get really rolling. A slow learner.
Mike, is it true that you also played for a team called the Stony Creek Camels?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's actually who Nash Ramsey plays for. He was a junior at that club when I used to play there.
Ah, here we go. We're putting it all together. It's like a...
And so I played for Stony Creek after I graduated from McMaster because they're out near Hamilton. And I was living out there still.
Right. So talk to us a bit more, Mike, if you can give us the brief history of your rugby career, because it sounds like you've played for a few different teams in your time in the game.
Yeah, so I played in high school for Bramley, the Broncos. Then I played for the Brampton Beavers. I did a stint in Wales when I was younger. I played in Risca. I came back, played at McMaster University. I spent 2 years in Australia, one in northern New South Wales, and then I spent another year on the Central Coast as well.
Oh, here we go. All right, I'm going to have to ask you about, where were you in northern New South Wales, mate?
There's a town called Inverell.
Yep.
In the bush. We played against Tamworth and Scone and a bunch of other country teams. So that was some of the best rugby I ever played. Those boys live and breathe rugby, and they're hard-nosed. I can't overestimate how tough these guys were. And playing with them I think I was 19 when I was there. That really hardened me up.
They are some tough towns. Tamworth, Scott, what's it known for?
Yeah.
Doesn't it have the biggest country music festival in Australia?
Yep, that's it. Tamworth is a hard town. Lots of country music down there. If you've ever wanted to drink rum and Coca-Cola out of a wheelie bin, you want to go to Tamworth. That is part and parcel with a Saturday night down there. So you're up there. Ever make your way to Newcastle, Shep?
No, never had the chance, unfortunately.
That's a shame. We probably would have ran into each other. There's about 4 people in that town, and I was one of them probably around that time. And you're in Wales as well. Shout out to all our Welsh friends. Hutto, if you're watching, sending love. I'd say hi in Welsh, but we don't have time.
Just a bunch of Y's and U's as vowels.
Lots of love for our Welsh friends and huge, huge rugby fans. We got a question here for you, Shep, from Alan. He says, it's a question, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on different styles of play by nation in international competition. Do any stand out, and which ones do we apply on the Canadian side? Thanks for the essay there, Alan. Look, let's look at different styles of nation. Let's pick a nation like Wales, and maybe you can speak to how they play the international game. Do you see a difference between international teams as they play? Attacking, defensive?
The more offensive side is what we see. So when we're like in the World Cup International, we do a lot of film review as well. So the offensive side, like a lot of teams adopted the 1-3-3-1 for the forwards, and then their back plays. It's a lot of pulls at the back. Like offenses are usually very fluid. The only differences you really see with the Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere are the exact same you've seen for years, just because of the geography and the weather that those teams play in. So even though the Welsh and English and Scottish sides, they play a more reserved, careful game than say the Kiwis or the Aussies, because of the weather that they have, you see those distinct differences: more scrums, more mauls, more set piece attack rather than open play. But as far as, you know, fluidity, like defense is always defense. It's very, very difficult to change a good defensive side. But
well, while we're on the topic of international rugby, yes, thank you for the question, Alan. Maybe, Mike, you could help us as two Aussies, sharing your insight in what has gone wrong with Australian rugby, because we've had a tough few years.
Yeah. I couldn't answer that, you know, maybe a few too many goon sacks, but you know, those always work pretty good for me, so.
Now the goon sack, I'd love to explain what a goon sack is. That is when you buy your wine by the box, the bladder that keeps the wine in it. It's known as a goon sack or a goon bag. And a great game that you can play is Goon of Fortune, where you attach it to the washing line, spin it round, and whoever it stops in front of has to drink. Scott, I believe we did that at a party down in Melbourne a few years ago.
That sounds like something your friends would do, Elliot. I was much more refined, living in bigger, more sophisticated cities than you, but it sounds like Shep really got to see some real parts of Australia up there in northern New South Wales.
He gets it.
So,
he gets it.
He's probably more Australian than me at this point.
Yeah, Scott here drinking his wine out of a glass like a
hoity-toity. Huh?
Gotta drink it straight out of the bag. And you got a pillow at the end of the night. That's the best part about it.
Come to Mississauga after this, Elliot. We'll play. Let's go.
I'll grab the sack. Now, we're getting close to the try line here again. Ref is not happy. How excited are you when you get to this place in the field, Shep?
Oh, so excited. And if you were watching the penalty, the infraction that led to this penalty is our scrum pushed them back about 15 meters where they just disintegrated. And so you can see Tony coming here and slapping all the big boys in the back because they knew exactly what we did. And we're about to do it again because we know what's going to happen right now. So, it's such a good feeling like we were talking about.
What, Mike, did you really pinpoint about the Glendale scrum that you felt you could really take advantage of? And I think you can probably let loose here because, as we know, they're not actually part of MLR anymore, sadly.
Yeah. Well, we just knew that, so the Canadian boy playing loose head for them right now is a guy named Noah Barker, who's a very good scrummager, but he predominantly spends his time as a tight head as well. So we had Morgan Mitchell going on him, and we knew that he would be able to dominate him with what his experience was, and we took advantage of it through that. And there goes Tony. Oh. Look at him though. He's a medium guy at best, and I threw him in a 2XL jersey. That thing is wearing him.
Well, we'll get Mark Winokur's comments on the jerseys shortly, because last week, I'm not sure if you heard, Mike, that Andrew Ferguson claimed that maybe Mr. Winokur had placed the jersey order based on the size of the Utah Warriors. So I'm not sure if you had any thoughts on that.
Oh, he very well could have, or maybe Tony just said he was 220 pounds to get a contract over. He comes over here and he's 85. So
do you get paid by the pound?
So many different reasons. If we do, I'm going to go to Denny's right after this.
I was going to
really
say,
start beefing up.
Now, Shep, this diet for a forward looks kind of tricky. Like you got to be large. So you got to eat a lot of, I'm guessing, carbs and proteins, that sort of thing. But then you got to stay nimble. How have you managed to navigate that over the years?
Snacking.
He's just like the rest of us people.
Pretty much. It's just, you try and eat as healthy as you can, but the healthier you eat, know, you need to eat more healthy food to actually keep the weight on. So I'm basically eating every hour of the day.
What's your favorite cheat meal? What's your favorite cheat meal?
Favorite cheat meal?
Like your cheat meal, like you've worked out all week, you've been good, but it's Sunday and you're not cooking. Like you're gonna order in. What's your go-to?
I'm gonna go classic. I'm gonna go to Wendy's. I'm gonna get a chicken Asiago. I'm gonna get 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers. I'm gonna make sure that fries is large. Get some extra salt and just take my belt off and have a time.
Did you say extra salt?
Extra salt. You gotta have extra salt.
You heard it here first.
They use sea salt in their fries, and it's just it puts their fries above others. It does.
Oh, that's hilarious. We got a comment from Kevin. Hi, Scott and Elliot. I'm watching from my granddaughter's birthday party. Oh, g'day, Kev. Well, sounds like the party's going really well. Happy birthday to your granddaughter, and great to hear from you. We hope you're doing well there. Throw us on the big screen if you get a chance. Get those numbers up. Get all the kids watching.
Mike, I heard that you, Mike, going into this game, I believe you were selected for 3 weeks in a row in the MLR Team of the Week. Is that something that you're wary of during the season? Is it something that you look at and go, well, I want to keep this streak going?
Oh, absolutely. It was great. Like it's such a Americanization of the sport to have a Team of the Week. And it was just cool to be a part of that for so long. Like I said, like our whole team was firing on all cylinders at this point. So week in and week out, you had plenty of arrows going on that Team of the Week because we just kept winning in great fashion. And I was just fortunate that I did enough work to get noticed week after week. So I kept that shit rolling.
Do they send you an award? Do you get a participation trophy or anything like that, or just the credit?
Oh, I was told we'd be getting, you know, a couple $100 a week from somewhere. I don't know where I heard it, but you know, I'm still waiting on it. It's fine. I understand the mailing system's a bit slow right now, so it's probably in the mail.
Man, you'd be the last guy to rip off.
No, I'm just kidding. There was nothing for it. It's just a bit of fun for the league, you know. It's good popularity. People like seeing it. Something for the fans to like on Instagram.
Pop it on the resume. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, while we're on the note of Teams of the Week, I should also note while we're pumping your tires here, Mike, that you did make the MLR first team of the season. And for 2019, you were one of only 2 arrows, round of applause, that made that. It was yourself and Rob Brower. Now, did you give the rest of the team some banter about that?
Oh, it's just the old dogs pulling in the big awards, you know. 2 old guys in the team, 2 grizzled vets, you know. Just grow up a little bit, you know, be big and strong, eat your Wheaties. You'll get there, kids. Don't worry.
Any advice for the younger guys who maybe were striving for that team but didn't quite make it? Because we know that I think Rob would have been maybe 36 when he made it and yourself around 30. So 2 of the veterans of the team, but clearly 2 of the most skilled players.
So we will have a scrum.
Just keep your nose down, do the dirty work, you know. You do the small things. You don't always have to look for the big run or a big offload. You just got to keep doing little things right consistently. That's, you know, like you said, second row and like the tight 5 is pretty unrewarding positions. But if you do a lot of little things right, the people that want to see it will see it. And the people who actually really know the sport, they notice those things. Like, wow, that's actually what this player does incredibly well. It's not flashy, it's not, you know, anything special, but it's important to win games. Look at that scrum. Look at that go. Oh.
How do you feel when the ref blows the whistle while you're in there? Are you?
Oh, I feel so good. Once you hear that whistle and you're going forward, you know it's for you.
That's for you? Yeah.
Yep.
You're loving that part.
Oh, it's just the best.
And you've gone with the headgear. You recommend it to the younger players, the juniors out there?
Well, if you're in the second row, and especially once you get the higher levels, and you got like nowadays, like props used to be fat. Let's just say that. And nowadays, like my head right now is in between Rob Brower and Andrew Quattrin, and those guys are so muscular and bony. So if I didn't have that scrum out, my ears would be just cauliflower. Luckily, I still have these great, big, beautiful ears.
The moneymaker's still in shape. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. But like Paul Cellini, you look at his face now, and he's just a mess. So he really should have put the headgear on years ago.
Jump in the comments, Paul, if you'd like to defend yourself. That goes for anyone else who wants to send a message for Shep.
He's got no defense.
Mike, speaking of technical things, I did read that you have a degree in physical and biological anthropology. What does that mean?
Oh, I would have asked me that about 10 years ago when I was actually studying it. Now it's just a real dusty degree on the wall. But in essence, it was the study of past humans, their physical makeup, and how we developed into the humans that we are today. So yeah, I'm not working in that field, if that was your follow-up question. That's fine.
Hey,
no, my follow-up question was actually, how much time do you spend studying the humans on your own team? Because you must have some interesting insights based on your degree, by the sounds of it.
Oh yeah, I can definitely identify the mutants we got on our team, and we have a few of them.
You can pick a Neanderthal from 20 meters, I'm guessing. You can tell.
Oh yeah. Look at these just animals walking towards it here. They're just a bunch of beasts.
Who's your biggest fan, Shep? Who comes to all the games? Who comes support?
Oh, Mom.
Oh, lovely. Shout out. A little bit late for Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Were you able to do anything
never
special?
Missed a game. Oh, got her a bottle of wine, little quarantine, just, hey, how are you, on the front lawn.
That's lovely.
It's the best you can do, right?
Bottle of wine goes a long way until you run out.
Oh,
then you're like, oh, I should have got Mum the bag. Should have got her the old goose sack.
What are you thinking here, Shep, as you come towards the back of this ruck?
It's time to score, but just pick and go, pick and go, pick and go. If you're not on the ball, you better get on the player that has the ball and just be pushing them forward, which will happen. Oh. Yeah. And again, right there's another perfect opportunity to score, but, I'm not selfish. We slowed it down. It's fine. I believe we'll take the scrum again as well, but, I could be wrong, but I'm going to say we're going to go for scrum again.
What's it like scrummaging on the turf at Lamport Stadium, say, compared to some other fields you play on?
Oh, Lamport's got excellent turf. You can wear your medium to full-length studs on there for the front and second row, and they'll dig in. Especially when you're running, it doesn't really hurt the bottoms of your feet as it does on some other older turfs, even AstroTurf, where that can really, catch you bad turf toe. Like this turf here is actually quite nice, especially compared to other turfs in the league as well.
Yeah, it was quite a significant upgrade from the old turf. I know that each year would bring back a lot of those little rubber balls that they use to keep it nice and soft there, cover them all over the house. But it's a lot better than it used to be. It was basically green painted concrete a couple of years ago.
Look at that, Leo getting into the mix, picking and going like he's a forward. See, this is the problem with wingers. They get so bored, and they do whatever they can to get themselves involved. So this little... To his credit, though, he almost does get it down, if I'm going to be completely fair.
He'd probably pack down in the scrum if you gave him a chance to.
Oh, I've never let him do that. He'd want to, but I would never let him. You can tell him I said that, too.
We'll certainly do that if we can steal him away from his horses, because I look forward to asking him about that. I hear he's quite the horseman.
Oh, yeah, he plays polo regularly. Like, he's a big animal guy, especially horses, I know.
I sent him a message earlier to see if he was okay just for a quick chat, and he sent me a picture of the back of a horse's head that he was sitting on. So I thought that was just hilarious. And it was at the really nice braided horse mane. Mane? I don't know. What is that? Horse wig?
I think it's a mane.
Let's not get too off track here as we
it's fine.
We wait we wait for the Wait for the ref to make the call.
Oh, and we all know how this is going to go. And here we go again on my own. Walking down the only road I've ever known. Attaboy, Luke.
There we go. Beautiful
We don't have the cheersers this week, Elliot. Where are the beers?
I'm a responsible man. I probably should have cracked them out. You work around a lot of craft beer, right, Shep? I probably should have had my little gift here.
Oh yeah, I've had a couple.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to encourage anything. I mean, considering people are watching us at their granddaughter's birthday parties and all that, I've got to keep it, you know, kind of nice. Oh, there's Ross. Love you, Ross. Mike, other than you, who is the most photogenic arrow? Ross Rowlands, one of the great sports photographers of all time.
Excellent
Who's the most
question.
photogenic?
Ooh, who do I like looking at pictures of? That is a good question. You know, if you catch John Moonlight in the right angles, he does look angelic. His jawline just cuts through the air.
Did I hear he used to be an actor? Is that true?
An actor? No. Well, I was Danny Zuko in a high school play, but that's about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a Scott. We were in the. That reminds me of something that I've got to bring up. We were in a version of Jesus in the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Public school. Joseph. Yeah, right there you go. I was paying attention, Shep. And Scott had the lead role, but Scott, what happened?
Well, I did a great audition. I sung Red Hot Chili Peppers Under the Bridge, which was, you know, big in the day.
Sure.
And then my voice broke midway through year 6 when I was 12. So I got demoted from the lead part. My acting career never really recovered from it, to be honest.
Take me to the place I know. Take me all the way.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, but still a great album.
Oh my God! Anytime it's karaoke, Scott really tries hard. You can tell it scarred his young entertainment career there early on. But yeah, sorry, I just brought that up.
Look at that kick by Sam too.
Oh,
so close! What a kick!
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Me?
Yeah, for sure. I know what Scott's is.
What's Scott's?
It's Bad Company, isn't it? Oh, he doesn't mind Bad Company.
Under the Bridge, definitely Under the Bridge.
Yeah. Didn't you you murdered that at the Gladstone Hotel? Was that last year?
Yeah. Oh, my other one is Keep On Loving You by REO Speedwagon. That's another one of mine. Yeah.
The first time we did karaoke together, Scott and I did Grandmaster Flash, The Message, at Royals Rugby Club in Canberra and cleared the room. They weren't ready for our style of upfront white boy hip-hop, that's for sure. Uptown Funk, Sheppy, will tear up the floor, says Ken James.
Oh, Fat Bottom Girls is good as well. A little bit of Queen in there.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. That's for sure. Put your versions in. Put your versions in the chat there. We've still got a bit of time. Maybe we can crack on out.
Mike, I want to ask you about lineouts. What's your role, typical role in a lineout for the Arrows?
For the Arrows, my role in a lineout is to not be in it. That is my direct role. They just you can't jump, you can't lift, you can carry the ball and run with it decently well. So you're just gonna do that. See right now, look, I'm just standing there. I'm just not doing anything, and rip, and there we go.
That. Oh, textbook.
Pop. That's it. Well, I take a little hit for the team. That's all right.
Yeah.
But no, they don't want me in there. You know, they don't want me in the lineout. It's fine with me. I'm okay with it. I don't take things too personally.
When do you realize how much damage you've taken on? Is it straight after the game? Is it maybe in the showers when you're rubbing down? You're like, oh, I didn't notice that one, or is it like a couple of days later? When do you fully assess the damage that's occurred to your body?
Well, I actually broke a bone in my hand in this game that I didn't really realize until early on to our World Cup campaign the next
Oh, wow.
year, when I was getting assessed. My knuckle just kept getting injured and injured after every single practice. And so Giuseppe Dutoit's father, Pete Dutoit, was our Rugby Canada physician for a little while. So he gave me an ultrasound, and he saw that the bone had actually fractured and reset incredibly poorly because I didn't take care of it. And it just kept getting hurt and hurt and hurt. But now it's pretty good. I don't know, it's all right.
Good genes.
Yeah. But yeah, so to
Rugby-
answer your question,
Yeah,
eventually,
eventually you figured out you've broken a finger and it's reset the wrong way. Mate, if I see a scratch on my leg, I'm taking 3 sick days and I am on the couch. You can better believe that. Now, if you want to look like this, lovely hat, got the jersey, look like Scotty, maybe get that hat Shep's got on today. You can go to the Rugby shop, and they've got a great little bonus today. It's a promo. If you spend $100 or more at therugbyshop.com, they will add the youth jersey to your cart. So you get a free jersey there for a young girl or young boy or small man or woman. And you can
love
jump.
this flex fit hat. Oh.
You can jump on that. The Arrows hats are good stuff. I took this one before Scott had a chance, but I think it suits me a little bit better. But you check out the rugbyshop.com right now and put in that code Arrows Youth Bonus.
Look at him grabbing that jersey. See, if that was a regular fitting jersey, he would have just been right through. But he's got 3 more X's just booping off him, but still can't stop him.
That is some try. Talk us through that, Mike.
Oh.
You must wish you were back sometimes when you see a try like that.
Oh, what are you kidding me? I was instrumental in the ruck before and selling this try. Like, really, this try is thanks to me. But no, so there's a preset play that we always had. Back line out, midfield crash, have some forwards come around the edge, but then just cut back with the backs going against the flow of traffic. Sometimes you catch them sleeping, which we were fortunate enough to do here, and that's the payout you look for, and the crowd loved it.
If you're missing rugby, we want to hear about you in the comments. Tell us your story. Tell us what you're missing the most. It's kind of praying for some rain today, Scotty. I was hoping it was going to be really overcast and nasty and raining.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful day outside, similar
Bloody
to
beautiful.
the day of this game. Like, really nice weather. People should probably be outside,
yeah, it's
but we
golfing
hope you
weather
can
Yeah.
take a 2-hour break and come and join us. And then you can go outside afterwards.
We haven't quite figured out how to not let links images pop up on the screen, so a great ad for the rugby shop there while Sam puts it across. Don't forget, we have some great guests after the match. We got Mark Winokur after the half, Mark Winokur and Leandro, or Leo as he's known. He's jumping in there. And at halftime, I'm chatting to Pilot Coffee Roasters who are going to help you with some tips to get your coffee fix during what this lockdown is preventing us all from doing, which is hanging out in coffee shops and looking cool. So Nat is going to join us from the head of accounts for Pilot Coffee Roasters, and he's going to give us a couple of tips, and we're going to reminisce a little bit. Stay tuned for that. Glendale's trying, but they're how do you like your coffee? Did you get changed to the coffee, the Australian way of drinking coffee while you were down there, Shep, or were you too busy drinking wine out of bags?
Yeah, I don't drink coffee. That's it's not one of my things. Love the smell of it, but I just don't drink it.
Yep. I find it
I'm
turns
a
me
big
into
tea guy. Huge
tea.
loose leaf tea guy.
What's your go-to tea?
Usually a nice blended tea, nice little herbal with some fruit tones in there, maybe a little pomegranate. That really gets you going in the morning. And that's great now in the summertime. You can put those. You got a nice little chiller. You throw that in the fridge after you make a nice pot. Cools it. It's basically a nice herbal iced tea. It's fantastic.
It's amazing. Pilot Coffee Roasters sitting at home right now going, I can't believe they're talking about tea. You got to be kidding me. You had one job, Elliot. One job.
Yeah, how dare I?
Lulu Bell says, Mike, I'm so proud of you. Love from Alberta.
That's my aunt right there.
Ah,
Love you too, Bell.
That's sweet. Whereabouts in Alberta is she located?
In a rural part of Alberta. I'm not exactly sure. I can't really recall the town, but she actually came with my folks and my siblings to Japan as well to watch some of the World Cup games. So,
oh, amazing!
She's great. Yeah.
Now, while we have you for a few more minutes, give us a rundown of your trip to Japan last year with the World Cup team.
It was a long trip, but it went by so fast. Like, we're just moving all over the place, different training facilities, different venues, different hotels, training twice a day, eating 3 times a day, getting your supplements in. Like, it was the most comprehensive job that I've ever had in my life. It's so much work, but it was so much fun.
And they say going to Japan is like stepping into the near distant future. If that makes sense. Did you notice anything there that you just went, why aren't we doing this back in Canada? Is there anything you're
Yeah,
really
it's
surprised
fantastic.
by?
It's so clean. They're so respectful. Like, the culture there is just fantastic. The people were amazing. Like, maybe it could have been just because it was World Cup, but I don't think so. I think it was just because that's who they are all the time. It was like fantastic experience.
And Mike, you actually started, I think, at least in the first game, didn't you? So you were there from the first whistle for Canada. It must have been a great experience to be a part of those games.
Oh, yeah. We watched the film after as well, and run out of the tunnel. I got a big dumb smile on my face because it was so good to suit up in front of a crowd that size. Like, playing in front of Lamport, I love playing in Toronto with all the fans we have there. But then in front of 50,000 plus people is just something else, man.
And were you involved with the cleanup effort as well, where the Canadian team was helping out those affected by the typhoon?
Yeah, we all took a part and helped clean up some of the trash around there, but the typhoon affected the area. It was a really good little time to experience afterwards.
Obviously, a very proud moment for Canada and Canadian rugby. Very, very special. We're getting to the end of the half here.
Typical Canadians, man.
Just typical Canadians, that's right. Getting in there, digging in, getting it done. We're coming close to the half. Do you feel like you've had a good half here at this point? Tell us, how do you feel walking into the sheds at this point of the match, Shep?
Oh, so good. Our scrum's been dominating. We're dominating on the scoreboard. All we got to do is just keep it for the second half, which, spoiler alert, we do. And, you know,
Wait,
we're just keeping that hot streak going.
So last moment of the first half, 26 points to 7. Toronto have silenced the Glendale Raptors so far, but a big 40 remains.
And this game, Shep, was in aid of, it was Rugby for Cancer, I believe that was called. What did it mean to you to be part of a game that was, you know, obviously doing a lot of good work on that front?
Yeah, it's, you know, cancer is one of those things that's just so significant to so many different people. It affects so many people, different people's lives. And I haven't had any personal experience with it, thankfully, but just to know you could help other people in some small way is always a good feeling.
It was the Rugby versus Cancer game, and all the jerseys there went off to auction, which was great, and they raised some money.
Yeah.
That's the end of the first half. Shep, we could have talked to you all game. I feel like we're just getting our groove on, but I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Absolute pleasure. Have you got a message for the fans before we head to halftime?
Enjoy the second half. See you next year.
It's as simple as that. Thanks very much for joining us, Shep. We appreciate it. Hang around. Very soon we're talking to Nat from Pilot Coffee Roasters. Then we've got Mark Winokur and Leandro Leivas coming up. And we are back. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for the second half. And it is a pleasure, absolute pleasure, to have a friend of mine from many, many years ago, Nat from Pilot Coffee Roasters. Nat, thank you very much for joining us, mate.
Thanks, Elliot. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, mate. Now, we are chatting you today because obviously you're a huge rugby fan. Tell us about your previous iterations as a rugby player.
Sorry, I've got your audio on the rolling through my headphones. Let me just turn off the other thing.
No, not a problem.
I was watching the tea debacle on the just a couple minutes ago, and it was still rolling. So
yeah, the tea debacle, as it will always be known now in the world. But yeah, Nat, you're a previous rugby player as well. You got some experience with the game.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up in the UK and started playing when I was around 7, and played for many years all the way through university, and then took a bit of a break. Actually, right around when we met, when I started working for Pilot back in the day, and work conflicted, and then just got back into playing the last couple of years for the Toronto Nomads. So yeah, it's been great getting back at it.
That's wonderful, and I've clicked the wrong button there. I had well, here's what's killing me right now. I had a beautiful little title that I'd made for you with your name and your role and everything like that. But it's Nat from Pilot. So thanks. So Nat, you and me, we know each other from. We only realised this after chatting that we knew each other many, many years ago. We met basically right after I got to Toronto. You're very big in the coffee scene, and right now this must be a really interesting time because nobody is actually out allowed to go to the coffee shops. Coffee shops are. How's everyone adapting to this situation?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's their own barista now. People are still drinking coffee. It's definitely keeping a lot of people fueled. I know I'm used to drinking coffee at work, so for me, brewing at home is something I would do on the weekends, and sometimes I'd use the weekend to take some time off from coffee because there's days where I'll drink, 10 cups through the day doing tasting and stuff. So now I'm blasting through coffee at home, and we're really now focusing on helping people get great coffee experiences at home because we can't welcome them to cafes. And right across the country, Pilot, we're really lucky. We work with amazing wholesale partners right across Canada, and that's my part. My role at Pilot is sort of leading our team that supports wholesale. And it's wild, cafes are such hubs for community. It's such a part of the routine and what gets people going. So really shifting that, it's been a big adjustment. But people still love coffee, and it's been just about how can we get it to people and help people enjoy it at home. And there's cafes getting delivery services going, and setting up online stores, really changing their business model. And, we've been really fortunate. We've had a ton of support through our website and people ordering direct from us and shipping to their homes. So, it's been amazing to have that support and keep us going through what's been a really challenging time for everyone.
Nat, we're getting a few questions coming in here. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on. Are you Lucas Rumble in disguise?
You found me out.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing a lot of it. Scotty, you're quite you're the coffee man in this hosting relationship. You're a big coffee drinker. How do you make it at home? What's your style?
Well, I just want to say I don't make it at home because I am a coffee snob, and I go to the cafe at the end of my street in Roncesvalles. I won't say its name because we're all about Pilot Coffee Roasters here because we know you're friends of the Arrows. But every day I'll go and get an Americano. And for me, it's been nice to get out of the house, have a bit of banter with my barista. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, right? Hopefully, you guys are still having the option to serve people for takeout coffee, Nat?
So, some cafes have been really fortunate and stayed open. Pilot made the decision pretty early on to actually close all of our locations. We have 8 of them in Toronto. And just for the safety of our staff and customers, and every business is so different, and obviously we've seen so many businesses adopt practices and really have to rethink and change. And definitely now it's exciting that retail stores are able to reopen, and so we're working towards getting 3 of our locations back open in the coming week, and I don't even think we've announced that yet, so you're hearing it here first. But really exciting news. We're just making sure we're doing it safely, and can get takeout coffee and get some people interacting with our team who miss our customers so much, because as you say, that daily interaction is a really meaningful one. And we know a lot of people by name and see the same people every day, and missing out on that's been super tough. Let alone the changes to business and everything else that comes with it. But yeah, definitely, I'll pick up quickly on what you said too. The really cool thing about specialty coffee and what's kept me in it for so long, and growing with it, has been that we're all in this together. And it's been amazing to see how coffee companies, not just in Canada, but globally, have really built resources and shared with each other and all come together to support each other. So yeah, on Ronsi, whether it's Reunion Island or many of the great shops that are out there, getting out and seeing your baristas, they miss you. So as cafes do reopen, obviously keep it safe, be distant, but we want to see people back and enjoying coffee. I got to have an oat milk cappuccino when I visited our roastery the other day to pick up some gear, and I couldn't believe how good it was. Like, really, I've forgotten how good it is. So it's an exciting time to get espresso drinks back out there. It's a tricky one for people to do at home.
Now, Nat, I'm just going to ask you one last question. What is your big tip? What do people do wrong at home when they're trying to make their own coffee with your fresh beans, whether they've come ground or they've got to grind them themselves? What's your number one tip for the home barista?
Yeah, so this is a tricky one. Coffee is complex and super hard to do well, and you kind of reference that. It's sometimes just easier to go to the cafe. But if you're going to make coffee at home, having the right tools, the right gear is really key. With specialty coffee, better coffee, there's all of these complex flavors, and if you don't brew it well with the right tools, you're really not going to get that experience and kind of question, why have I bothered spending more money on this bag of coffee. So I brought a couple of those tools with me, but really quickly, a scale, there we are, like this one, something that'll weigh your coffee to 0.1 of a gram, will help you get the same recipe each time. And then if you're grinding your coffee, try and get a burr grinder. So that's something that has 2 discs that the coffee passes between. So this would be an example of coffee burrs. And basically, because there's 2 discs, depending on how close or far apart they are, changes if it's coarse or fine, but it's always the same distance. Whereas those kind of blade grinders that are sort of a more traditional old school way of doing things, pretty hard to get a good product or get good cup. We kind of think of it like turning a lawnmower upside down and trying to grind coffee with it. It's you're asking for trouble. So get a better grinder.
That's a great way to put it. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, Nat, and Pilot Coffee Roasters, good friends of ours here at the Toronto Arrows. And any message for the fans out there, Nat, how they can get in touch and get some of your very, very fine coffee beans in their hands?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll visit our website, pilotcoffeeroasters.com. We're continuing to offer free shipping on orders over $30, and it's FedEx has helped us get those orders out really quickly. We just launched a new cascara product, which is made from the dried fruit of the coffee plant and is super delicious with gin. pro tip. And then hopefully we'll have three of our cafes back open. So if you're near one of those, definitely would love to see you there. We're looking forward to welcoming people back to the cafes.
Well, support a great local company. Thank you, Nat, for joining us. Thank you, Pilot Coffee Roasters. I did get your name up there for about, a quarter of this, so it's not too bad. Check them out.
You killed it.
Oh, it had other stuff going. I have no idea what happened, but this is the beauty of live television. Mate, great to speak to you. We'll talk to you soon, and you take care of yourself out there. All right, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Nat.
Bye, guys.
We've glad to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Winokur here. How are you doing, Mark? Nice to see you, and thank you for joining us.
I don't know why you got to say it like that, but thank you guys for thank you guys for having me on. I know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point, but I'm happy to fill in.
Not at all. Not at all. We're really glad to have you down here. Scott's got a couple of questions of you while I try and fix the screen here. 1 second.
No, Mark, thanks for your time, and we probably should give you the right of reply first because you're one of your scrum halves, Andrew Ferguson, made some claims about you in a jersey order from 2019. So I'm just wondering if you wanted to defend yourself and reply to some of his claims last week.
Yeah, no, it's not really a very dramatic story at all. We weren't admitted to the league until November 2nd, 2018, and the kit order for the 19 season went in September. So they put us in, they just took the Utah order sheet and duplicated us because we didn't even know if we were going to get it, and we had no time really to change it. We had 77 days from admission to kickoff, and that was not at the top of the list to worry about. So there was no nefarious plot. Sorry to disappoint everyone.
Now, it jumped a little bit ahead there, but Mark, the first half in this match, you're obviously there. I was there. What were your thoughts about this first half?
Well, it was unusual because, we'd had so many close games where we'd either been trailing or just about tied going into the last 5 minutes. I was 19 years old when the 2019 season began and 63 or something when it ended. So this was kind of a nice one because we kind of really felt like we already had the bonus point. We felt like this one was in hand. Just looking at the body language from Glendale coming out of the locker room, we felt like this was a game that we had a chance to sort of decide by how much we were going to win it by, and it was an unusual feeling in the whole season.
Mark, you're vice president and general manager of the Toronto Arrows, so clearly your role is, I'm sure it encompasses many things, but just tell the fans on game day, what is typically your role with the team?
Oh boy, I mean, it's a pretty long checklist. It's making sure that the building is open, that the dressing rooms are open and set up, that the paperwork is done, that all the volunteers are there, that the team is there, that the breakfast is organized, that the TV people have what they need. And then during the game, it's usually up in the booth with the rest of the coaches, just kind of sitting and watching and trying not to lose our minds and jump up and down. So it's a long, hard day. It's a great feeling when you win and not so much when you lose. But certainly at the end of these days, a cold adult beverage at the end it feels pretty good.
And you would have been really impressed with the way the season was going in this 2020 season, I assume. If you were to give it a score, like we were back at school, from A to an F, what would you give the 2020 season to the Toronto Arrows?
Well, probably an A minus. Probably an A minus for this year or last.
For this year, and then we'll look at last year as well. Sure.
Yeah. So for this year, I would give it an A minus. I mean, we did have that one stumble at the end in Denver, but that was a Sunday afternoon or a Friday afternoon game after a Sunday evening game, and a very tough. Long road trip for the guys, and we played pretty well, but just made too many mistakes in that last game. That was the only flaw. But to go 4-1 and be sort of in first place with no home games played, we really felt like we had a big shot this year. And as I've said before, that's one of the very disappointing things about the season ending. But there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do is get ready to do better next year.
And looking at next year, what are the preparations that are happening now behind the scenes for 2021?
Yeah, there's a ton going on. I mean, we're obviously working with our broadcast partners, our venue partners, our supplying partners, everybody to get the team organized early. We're also starting, the roster build, which is always a challenge, and more so this year because of the global economic situation, which is going to put a lot of downward pressure on money and salaries and everything else. And it's going to be, it's going to be a real challenge to get everybody back under the same roof, but we're going to do the best we can.
Mark, talk to us a little bit about the Glendale Raptors, or, we know they became the Colorado Raptors, because I think it's fair to say that some of those matches played quite a pivotal part in the Arrows' history.
They did. I think 3 years ago, not today exactly, but the Saturday of the long weekend, we, as the Ontario Blues, played the Glendale Raptors in Burlington and beat them quite handily. And that's when Bill and I got together. I wouldn't call it a meeting of the minds because he's the only one that has one, but certainly that was kind of our kickoff point for the birth of this franchise. I think I remember standing at the end of the game when we'd won and saying to Chris Silverthorne, mate, I don't think you know what a big deal that was, because I knew what was sort of percolating in the back of people's minds. So that was a very significant day in our history, and we've had we've played exhibition games against Glendale, and I think we'll miss the players from the Raptor side for sure moving forward. But they'll be distributed around to Dallas and Los Angeles for next year, and we'll still see them. But we'll certainly, I feel badly for them in this situation.
And Mark, do you think there's hope for having rugby in Colorado again sometime in the near future?
It depends what you mean by near future. I mean, they have all the ingredients for it. They've got a tremendous facility. They seem to have decent fan base. I'm just not sure what the expectations of the people who were in the former ownership structure were. Couldn't really work that out. Obviously, I think it's more on them to decide what they want to do. But we're moving forward with 13 strong franchises in the league for next year, and if they came back one day, that would be great.
Now, Mark, we're about to speak to Leo, and I was just wondering, can you tell us about the process of how you found Leandro for the Arrows?
Yeah, well, listen, we seem to be there's real symmetry here. So Chris Silverthorne and I went to a World Rugby Combine in Denver in Glendale's facility in October of 2018, and Dan Payne, who's the Rugby North America guy, and a friend of mine invited us along to look at players. We looked at a bunch of guys that week, but we were impressed with both of them, both as players and as people, and we kind of went from there. And the first year they were with us was great, and we enjoyed having them along this year as well. Leo's a little excitable. You're going to find that out.
Mark, we know that the Arrows really want to promote the Ontario and Canadian development pathway, but you did have 7 foreigners in the squad in 2020. But we know that other teams have had closer to maybe 15 foreign players. So is it fair to say that the foreign players that the Arrows do sign, they're pretty special guys?
Yeah, they have to be. I mean, they've got to fit into a culture that's been going for 10 years and has been successful. The Ontario Blues won 45 out of 60 games they played. These guys have been together for years. They know each other super well. So these are guys that we feel have to be comfortable in that environment, and they all have been. They've been tremendous contributors, and the guys that we got in this year, the new guys, Tommy De La Vega, Taylor Adams, guys like that, have also fit in well and are still here. So that's a big part of it is just being the right guy to fit into what we've got going on. And we'll again for 21 have in around 7 or 8 imports. I don't think we're in any danger of having that creep up too much.
Well, we've got Leo ready to jump on. Mark, it's been a pleasure to have you in here, and I hope you didn't think we were taking the piss too much last week.
You know what? I'm here now, and I didn't have to deflect too many shots. So,
No, we kept it.
Do whatever you got to do, guys.
I've got one last question for you. What is it like living in Scrooge McDuck's area where he keeps all his gold? Because you've got one of the, you've got your room is absolutely gold on the screen here. Looks like you're about to dive. You're about to dive into piles of money. Aladdin's cave.
It's a good that way to me. It's fine to me.
Looks like we dragged you right out of 1952 here. It looking great, Mark. One final
you know
bargain.
Not even I was alive in 1950.
I'm just giving you a chance to come back next time. Look, thanks so much for joining us. Have you got a message for the fans before we say goodbye?
Yeah, listen, thanks for watching these things. Thanks for supporting us, and we can't wait to play in front of you. I'm sorry that it's like 10 or 11 months away, but we'll be really looking forward to seeing you then.
Well, Mark, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we get the win here today. If you're a betting man, I'd say it's worth it. Thanks again, mate. We appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
And we are joined by Leandro Leivas, the outside back, number 11. Leandro, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Very good. Very good. Very good. Here he is, the man we've been wanting to. We wanted to speak to you for a couple of weeks. We, you know, you spent the last few days on a horse. we finally got this man on solid ground.
My boots now.
They are some serious boots.
Leandro, where are you right now? Where are you? Explain to the fans where you are right now.
Well, I'm in the farm now. The farm is next to New Market and Aurora. The farm is a polo farm. It's called Polo Management. It's anyone that wants to play polo can come here. It's really good.
Now, water polo with horses seems like it could be really hard. How do you guys manage that? That's just shot straight over his head. No.
Yeah. It's a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful sport with the horses. They're a lot fast. It's pretty good. It's really fun. Anyone can play. Of course, you start a little slow, but then you can play fast, and it's really, really enjoyable.
Is there a miniature version where you can use the small miniature horses, or do you have to use a really adult size?
Of course. Here are horses of all the sizes.
Now, Leandro, it's a pleasure to have you on here. You've been a highlight reel, a human highlight reel in a lot of the matches that we've watched. We've watched some 2020 matches, some 2019 matches. Tell us about, like Mark just explained, how you got involved with the team. They found you down at the Combine. Do you remember that conversation in Denver? Or maybe they didn't talk to you then, they emailed you later?
Yeah. Well, the Combine was a little something weird for us because we never heard about that. But it was pretty good. It was a hard week, a really, really hard week. And at first, I didn't speak with Toronto. Then in the second time, I was going to San Diego first, and then change and come to Toronto. So pretty good because I like it here a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, was pretty good.
That's fantastic.
Leandro, there's a move coming up in this game in about 40 seconds that you perform, and I want you to talk us through it because it's pretty impressive. We'll just give it 30 seconds here.
Yeah, I'm going here, trying to look for some work. That's the problem. We have the wingers, you know. Sometimes the ball is.
I think it's coming up in a moment.
Yeah, I'm in the rack now. That was a hard game, I remember.
The arrows putting the phases together and getting the width as well.
Here we go. Watch this.
Second time. Back inside. Beautiful ball. Leivas.
Now you've just flattened that guy and then spun out of the tackle. Do you practice something like that?
Yeah. Well, it's sometimes like for a winger, you know, it's, when the matches are like a lot of forwards and it's like a close match, Sometimes it's difficult that the ball go to the width. So it's good like for the wingers like to work and try to go inside the 10, outside the 10.
Here we go.
You know, look for work because if not, you're gonna get bored.
Is there any spin move like that in polo that you can perform?
so.
Maybe on a three-legged.
Perhaps I finish in the floor, but
maybe a three-legged horse.
Yeah.
Now, so while everybody else is inside doing lockdown, you're spending a lot of time outside in the fresh air with the animals. That must be great. It must be awesome.
Yeah. Like I've been really lucky. I found this environment to play, to be here, to work, and I really enjoy it. I come here every day, all day. I woke up like around 6:30 and 7 o'clock. I drive here. Sometimes I stay asleep here, and like I work. I'm a farrier too, so some of my work here I put the shoe for the horses. Then I clean and I ride all the horses I'm in charge of. So
that is amazing. You've been riding horses a long time, I can assume here.
Yeah. Well, I'm new for the polo. I started playing polo in last November, but I've been with horses all my life. Like in Uruguay, in the countryside and all that stuff, where we work a lot with the horses. It's a little different than here, but we work a lot. And look, Ferguson. And I'm familiar with the horse. I love the horses, and I've been around them all my life.
Nice try there by Andrew Ferguson, who we had on the show last week. He claimed he was the
magic man.
The magic man.
I like
claimed
that.
he was the 5-meter specialist last week, but I think that try was from 10 meters out. So he's doubled his average try length.
He's undersold.
Yeah. He's good at that. I really like the program. Like you can see the game and we can talk. It's really good.
It's like being at the pub. That was the pitch. Let's be at the pub and occasionally look at the television. We're just super stoked to talk about like things.
I don't have a pint here, but it's okay.
Now,
Leandro, talk to us about some more of your memories from this game, because you had to win, I think, the last 2 games of the season to make the playoffs. The team had won 5 games in a row. How are you feeling at this point in the 2019 season?
Yeah, well, was kind of a mix of emotions, because I thought like we all think we really have a good team, you know, and how to explain in English, like we didn't want it to wait to be like that hard, like to win all the games, you know, in the second part. But for us was good, was a good challenge, and we get to semifinals, so it was really good. We've been growing in the year, you know. We start like not so good, and then we start growing, and you have to think that last year was the first years of the team, you know, the first season all together, new people. But I think it was really good, really positive.
We got a great question here from Karen. How did you find interacting with the supporters in Toronto, Leo? How is it different from Uruguay?
Well, say hello to Karen. Karen is a great fan of the team. Well, I love it. We since we arrived here, we've been really familiar with everyone. Everyone was really kind with us, and we really felt at home. And what can I say? I want to stay here. I'm staying here now. I didn't went home, and I love Canada. So it's been really good.
Now, speaking of home, you live with Giuseppe and Taylor. What is that like? You got a South African and a Kiwi and a Uruguayan in a house. It sounds like the setup to a bad joke. What is that like?
I love it. Well, we are now we are Giuseppe and Taylor. Like me and G, for example, we are opposites, but we've been excellent. We've been the 2 years we live together, and with Taylor, we are like brothers, man. Like we are different from different country, different languages, but we are like just the same, you know. And we really enjoy to be together. I love those guys. And then we live too with Tony and Manu. They are from Uruguay. The Gaston and Manu Diana.
Oh wow, it's a
And
big house. This is a big house.
yeah. Because Taylor, he lived in another house, and after the season get cancelled, Tony and Manu and Sammy Malcolm so let me start again. At first in the season we live Sammy Malcolm, Tony Mieres, Manu Diana, and Giuseppe and me. We live in the house. Great family. We love to be together. We have dinner like a family. It was really good.
Now
And then when they had to leave, Taylor came to the house.
And next thing, the house was destroyed because Kiwis
Yeah.
are just crazy bastards, left, right, and center. We know. Now, who's the cook? Who cooks the meals? Is there a competition going on there? Like you come from
No.
some very strong backgrounds here, usually of cooking entire animals at once.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we all do something. Like I like to cook, and I've been cooking a lot in the house. But we all cook. We all do something. G cooks really good. When Tony and Manu was at the house, they cook a little bit too. But was
That's a
really
lot.
good.
That's a
I-
lot
I-
of. That's
I-
a large meal you got to make. A large meal for all
Yeah.
these rugby players.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And Giuseppe eats a lot. A lot.
It's
Yeah.
put on blast. Giuseppe, keep it down. Now, a cool stat I just got sent is that you have the second most caps in Uruguayan international history. That's a round of applause. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you.
Who do you have to get in front of there?
Diego Maño. He's a player. He plays for the Sabercats. He's
For Houston?
the most
Yep.
player. Yeah.
That's that must be interesting when you're playing against someone who's in your, from Uruguay, one of your maybe your friends, your heroes. How is that when
Yeah.
you're on the field? How do you when you see them before the game? Do you say hello? Do you have a chat?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you to understand, like in Uruguay, we are like a really little country, and in rugby, we like you to know we only have 9 teams in Uruguay, so it's pretty amazing, and we all know each other. With Diego, we play in the national team, for example, for I don't know 10 years, so we know all. We are like friends with all the players, and I love to play against them. We get together, have some mate, have some little chat, and yeah,
Listen to some cumbia, maybe.
listen to some cumbia. Yeah.
Elliot's
Yes.
been doing his research, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a great chat before. I just
Yeah,
love
the
I love
DJ.
I love the picture. I was sort of just checking we could do a quick little test, and it's just I loved it. Just a picture of the back of a horse. Like this man is on a horse right now. He sent me a photo. It's one of my quarantine highlights.
Yeah.
Leandro,
And I have one
Leandro,
more
tell
right
us,
now.
Leandro, tell us about your Uruguayan teammates that you mentioned, Tony and Manu. What are they doing right now?
Yeah, well, Manu and Tony, they went back home just when the season get canceled. So they went back home with the families, girlfriends, and for them was good to go home. I just stayed because I wanted to stay here, but yeah, they had to go home, and I miss it a little bit. They are really nice people. I really enjoy to be with them. With Tony, for example, I play all my life with him. He played in another club in Uruguay, but we played together in the national team like for 10, 11 years. And we are like brothers. He's one of my best friends, and it's amazing I can play here with him. And Manu, he played in my club. He's younger than me, but he's a really good friend, amazing person, and yeah, I kind of miss them a little bit, but it's okay. I drink mate with Taylor and G, so I'm good.
I wouldn't drink anything
Explain-
with Taylor. That's just me.
Explain to us, explain to the fans what mate is, because I must say I'm not familiar with it.
Well, mate is a typical drink we have in Uruguay. It's common in South America, and we have I don't have it here, but it's like a fruit cup with a green tea. It's not a tea, but it's like a tea. It's bitter, and we drink it all day, every day.
It's something you would normally have one of those at like half time in a game before the second half, would you?
No, before the game. Before the game. When I go to the games, I'm always with a mate, drinking in the locker room a little bit. Yeah.
We'll have to get your recipe and share it with the fans. It's
Yeah.
It sounds very refreshing as we
Yeah.
come into summer here. We come into summer and we come into, well, you know, hopefully we've got some exhibition games coming up the end of the year. That would be fantastic. I'm sure you're very, very excited about getting out there with the team again. We're probably a couple of months away. What do you miss the most?
Well, I miss a lot being with the team. You know, the trainings, being part of the. You know, we've been all day, every day together, training. You know, we kind of like miss a little bit that, and of course the games, like the competition. And I think like this year was a really good year for the Arrows. You know, we have a really good team, and we were training good, but we have another chance next season, so it's gonna be okay.
And tell us, Leandro, let's talk a little bit about the World Cup, because I believe you've been to 2 World Cups, 2019 and 2015. And you had in one of those World Cups, you had a really big win over Fiji. Talk to us about that. That was a big win for your guys at the time.
Yeah. Well, it was incredible. So we play against Fiji in pre-season of the World Cup in November, and we lost 70 points to 6, something like that.
So it was a pretty close match.
Yeah, close match, pretty close. Yeah, and then in the World Cup, I didn't play that game. I was out, but it was incredible. The guys played really, really good. I think the Fijians didn't understand nothing what was happening that day for them, and we get advantage of that, and was a really historical day for the Uruguay rugby. Very emotional.
And I asked this question before to Shep. You know, who is his biggest fan? Who's your biggest fan? Who's your biggest fan that supports you along your way?
In rugby or like?
Yeah, in rugby, sure. Sarah.
I didn't understand, like a player. Who is my fan?
Like yeah, your biggest supporter, maybe your parents, family. Who's the one that's really helped guide you along your pathway to international rugby and coming all the way to Canada?
Well, my family, of course, they support me a lot. I have my sister and my brother. They've been with me, and my mom with me all the time, and they went to the World Cup to support. And my brother and my sister, they went to both World Cups to support too.
Oh wow!
And they've been with me a lot, and we've been through some not easy years with the family, and now we are enjoying it a little more. So it's pretty good. My family is everything for me.
That is so sweet. When you are in the Rugby World Cup, you're on the field. Do you know where they're sitting? Can you see them? Do you keep an eye out for them? I'm assuming that, like,
yes.
How does that work?
Yes. So all the family of Uruguay, they are all together. So the tickets they sell for the Uruguay fans or families, they are all together. So in every game, you go to the field before the game, just to see the environment, the stadium, and we always watch like where they are, and so say hello and everything. Yeah. And like, for example, when we played Georgia, after the game, we went to where they seated, and we've been there with them, take some photos. Was really nice.
Leandro, what's it like playing with twin brothers on the Arrows? Because we just saw one of them score.
Yeah, the Van Horns. I love the Van Horns. They're the best. Tom and Josh. Josh is a firefighter. He's really good. He's getting married this year. And Tom, he's the best. Tom is really nice. Well, my first trip with the Arrows, I was in the room with Tom, so he's really special for me.
Who's your favorite roommate when you travel?
My favorite roommate? Well, I have to say Tony, because me and Tony, the Uruguayan, my friend, we are always together in all the hotels, and we know each other so well that I really enjoy being with him. We do some fights. He always loses, so it's really fun.
Challenge.
Do you guys have, Leandro, a bit of a rivalry between you and Tony when you score tries? Because we've watched some games here that we've seen you score 2 tries, but in today's game that we're watching, Tony scored 2 really impressive tries in the first half.
Yes. In a good way, but yes. Not only with Tony, with anyone. I like to make tries, so if someone make a lot of tries, I get a little angry. But in a good way, not in a bad way.
Friendly competition.
Yes.
Speaking of friendly competition, Leandro, I want to cast your mind for a moment to a different sport. Are you a football fan, or soccer as they call it in North America?
No, we call it football. Yeah. I'm a football.
Yes.
I'm not a super fan, but I like it. I watch football. I'm from Peñarol. That is like one popular team from Uruguay. It's I like it. My brother, he's maniac with the football.
I was just going to ask you, Leandro, if you're old enough to remember when Australia played Uruguay to try and qualify for 2 World Cups in a row, 2006 and 2002. That was quite an emotional moment for us growing up. I'm not sure about you.
Yes, but you lose or not?
Yeah, we lose.
First time we lost, second time we won.
Yes, I remember. And the Chengue Morales, he makes a goal for you. You remember Chengue Morales? Was a color man, really big. He wasn't too good, but he made some goals with the head.
It was a big moment 15 years ago for us growing up in Australia.
Yeah, I remember well. So in Uruguay, it's really common. What's the repechas? Remember, what's a repechas? Sorry about my English. Sorry about my English.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's better than ours, mate. It's better than ours.
It's better than Elliot's English, arguably.
Oh, come on, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So for Uruguay, it's really common. Like, we always go to the World Cup with the repechas. We never go like first.
Yeah.
So we are used to suffer a little bit.
We got a question here, Leo. What was it like to destroy that Atlanta player with an unreal stiff arm en route to your first try that game? You're a legend. From Brock.
Thank you, Brock. Brock is my friend. Yeah, no. I didn't destroy anyone. I just like get clean in a play. It was a really good play. I get a inside ball. No, I get a pass from Taylor. And then I think it was the number 9. He went tackle me but he was like standing up, and I just push him a little bit, and I go to the try. Yeah.
Brock is obviously a big fan. We'll send him a calendar. Love your work, Brock.
Leandro, you've obviously you enjoy Toronto. We get that sense from us. And I remember as Elliot and I came here as Australians several years ago, we noticed that there are quite a few Australians living in Toronto. Have you met many Uruguayans living in Toronto? Are there many here?
I know they are. I meet some Uruguayans last year. So like, for example, friends from like cousin from a friend and all the like that thing. And we've been with a couple of Uruguayan and Argentinian too. There are many Argentinians here too. But yeah, I didn't been like with them too much, but I know they are here. You know, you always get in contact, talk. They when I get here, they ask me if I need something and try to help me, to get a good gear, and was really nice.
Now we got to ask about Captain Dan Moore, also known as the Duolingo Gringo.
Duolingo Gringo, exactly. I'm his teacher.
Can you speak to how good is Dan's Spanish?
Dan is an amazing human being. I never see a person like work so hard in my life to be like, and like he's really a really good example of hard work, and he's a little younger than me, but I see myself a lot of him because, for example, in my case, I'm not like, I don't have a lot of abilities, so we have to work hard to be a good players, or we try to be a good players. And I think Dan, he works really, really hard, and he's a really good example. And with the language, he start learning Spanish because we were here like Uruguayans and Argentinian, and he improved a lot. And he has every time we are traveling, he come talk my shoulder and he says some things in Spanish, and I correct him. It's really fun. He's always talking Spanish.
A very inspirational leader. Then that sounds that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice.
What do you think of his guitar playing, Leandro? Have you heard that?
He's really. I have one of his guitars at home that he gave to me just to practice, but he's really good guitar, and with the long hair and everything, he's gonna be okay with the ladies.
Yeah. There you go, Dan. You got Leo's
Gringo.
tick of approval. The guitar and the long hair.
We call him El Conquistador.
Well, Dan, I hope you're watching. Drop it in. as a very, very loyal player there. Look at that. He's and a good friend, no doubt.
Yeah. So all the guys of the team, they're amazing. I can talk with you of all the players. I love all the guys. They're really amazing, really good friends, and I'm being here in the team. I feel like I'm part of a family, and I love the Toronto Arrows. I love the environment, the fans, the staff. Like, it's really, really nice, really nice.
Yeah, well, we can wholeheartedly agree on that sentiment.
So talk to us Leandro, in the last 5 minutes or so we have with you, a bit more about the horses. So what do you feed them? How much care do you have to give them each day? I am not a horseman, just putting it out there. So I'm curious in terms of how much work it takes to look after all these horses.
Oh, it takes a lot of work. So here works like there are like 5 people working here. So you get up every morning, like they start working at 7. So they feed all the horses. So you have 4 horses that are in the field outside. They live outside, and there are horses that are inside the barn. So you first feed the horses inside the barn. Then you take all the horses out.
So the horses inside the barn, they're like the backs, and the horses outside the barn are like the forwards, right?
Yes, the pretty ones are inside. The other ones are outside. Yeah. Exactly.
And you obviously got to tend all these. They're all competitive horses. The ones that you're working with. Yep.
Yeah. So here in the farm, so we have like the school horses that they're like old horses that they are really nice to any amateur players that want to try and try to learn polo. They come, they ride that horses that are really nice, really good horses, really easy. And and now we get take care of them. For example, I'm in charge of all the school horses, so I have to ride them every day to they be in shape. Take
Right.
care of brush them because now they are losing a lot of hair because of the winter, the end of the winter. So we have to brush them a lot, and it's a really nice. I love it. I just love it, and I shoe the horses too. So I'm
Oh,
around here.
you said shoe, right? You shoe them.
Shoe.
I thought for
Yeah,
a second you said shoot them, and I'm like, Leo, it's probably not a great
No,
idea
no.
that you do
No,
that.
no. No.
Sorry, I
No.
ruined a lovely moment there. With while I was reading another question that I had for you, that Leo and Tony cooked up a Uruguayan feast up at Jamie McKenzie's cottage for all the guys last season, and it was a huge hit. What was on the menu? Well, it wasn't horse, Brock. We know that. So what were what tell us about this feast?
If the horse is dead, we can eat it. I don't care. But I'm not going to kill it, poor horse.
I've led us down a dark path here. Tell us, so what is your go-to feast menu in our last couple of minutes?
So we do we call it asado. It's like a barbecue, like a typical barbecue. So, but the difference is we do it like with a wood fire. We make the fire, and then with the coal of the fire, we make the asado. And it's fancy to see. It's really nice. It's really common in Uruguay. Like we do asado every weekend to hang out with the friends, family. It's like our typical food to eat, and we love to make it. And we do it now every day, every weekend at the house. We invite some friends, not a lot because we are in quarantine. I cannot say that, sorry.
Not officially.
Nobody's coming at home.
It's all Zoom meetings. It's all Zoom meetings and Zoom meeting.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
Now, Scott, what would you think are the most typical Canadian meals that are out there? The first things that you think about when you think Canadian meals or drinks?
Probably poutine and a Caesar.
Poutine and a Caesar. Have you had it? You've had a Caesar before, Leo? The
Caesar salad?
It's it's like a drink. It's great for hangovers when you maybe had too much to drink the night before. You'll have to try one of those. We're gonna have to get a good Caesar recipe so you can make one at home. And poutine. Obviously, have you tried poutine before?
No, the only poutine I know is in Russia, but I don't know.
So we are. The challenge is out there. This man needs a Caesar, and he needs poutine, and he needs to try a few of the, maybe pea meal bacon. Not a huge fan. I think, Scott, you'll agree with me on that one. But
it's okay. It's not my favorite.
Different tastes for different places. Now, when you get to this point in the game, Leo, as we got you just for a couple more minutes here, you're up 40-12. There's no chance that Glendale's going to come back. How do you feel at this point of the game, and how does it feel for the day to pay off for you?
Yeah, well, it's really hard. Like sometimes it's not easy when you are up in the score. You have to maintain the same level, and I think it's really important. For example, it's the responsibility of the guys that came in the second half, or to maintain that level. I don't believe in how do you call it, in starters and in subs. I think we are all the same, and the people that are outside in the first half, they had to impact in the game, and I think it's a big responsibility for them to make that impact, and to stay high. And sometimes when you're winning, it's not that easy in your head, but it's a big thing to try to maintain the level and finish really good.
So thank you for your comments. John Tomlinson just says, love your humor, which is great. And Leo, we want to say thank you very much for joining us today. And as always, this is your chance to send a message to the fans.
Okay. Well, thank you to you guys. I really enjoy it. I love this program. Was really nice. And nothing to the fans. Thank you really from the bottom of my heart. I've been really lucky to be here in the for the Arrows family, and I always like the supports that all the fans give us. And I know this year was not the best because we couldn't play at home, but we all feel the supports of the all the fans, and hopefully we can see all next year for a better season. And if some fan wants to play polo, just contact me. Come here.
There you go. But you have to take out poutine and a Caesar. Okay, that's
Yes.
the deal. This man,
Yes,
maybe you have
sir.
the Caesar after you go get on really
Yes, sir.
large horses. I'd like to thank very much Scott for joining me today again for another episode of Classics, and Leo, of course. Absolutely wonderful to have you here. The second half is kicking off again, so I'm just going to do this one. And now, Scott, we put a little something here together for the end of the match.
Yes, so we just want to make sure that we pay tribute to the Glendale Raptors because they had a tumultuous history. They came in as the Glendale Raptors. They became the Colorado Raptors. And now, unfortunately, they've withdrawn from MLR for the 2021 season. And the Arrows did play some very monumentous games against the Raptors. As Mark Winokur mentioned, the Ontario Blues beat them in an exhibition game in 2017, which was the first time that Bill Webb and Mark really got together to discuss the Arrows' history. We played them away in 2020 in cold conditions. We played them in Toronto. But there's one particular game against Glendale that we'll never forget. And we just wanted to show some footage from this game as we remember them and their key part in our history of the Arrows and also the competition. So, El, why don't you take it away with this game? It wasn't such a great day for the Arrows, but the scenery just says it all, really.